switching careers is not a luxury that everybody has.
Right. I don't think careers are built by the people whose career it is.
What you considered a dream job for you would not be so lucrative when you get to know the realities of it.
Does networking referrals work for freshers? If yes, what is the best way to do it properly?
So, networking, not in the common sense or like common connotation of the word that we understand of going to conferences, like that networking as a word means something different for us. For freshers, what I would say is definitely get in touch with as many alumni as you can. If you are in your third year, keep a track of what your seniors are doing, where they are going. It definitely helps to network with them, not in terms of getting referrals, because the process is anyway democratic. If a company has come to your campus this year, if they have positions, it's a very high chance that they will come next year as well. But for you to be able to understand what the hiring process is going to be, for you to be able to prepare better, for you also to understand what does their year one at the job look like. So you might think that this particular company and this particular role is the role for me, but from their experiences you will be able to understand the reality of it, and maybe what you considered a dream job for you would not be so lucrative when you get to know the realities of it. So you will be able to understand those jobs and roles and companies better through their experiences, and that helps you make a decision, a better decision, when you are participating in placements yourself, right? So definitely network with the alumni. It helps not just in your first job, but maybe some years later, maybe they have moved to another company and they are expanding the team there. Maybe they start a new company. Maybe you start a company and then seek their help, right? So that definitely helps. This kind of networking will always help. But don't see referral as the only outcome of this networking. I would say network to share knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and you hit the nail bang on the head about referral not being the first order effect of a network. A network is there to help all parties involved, right? So there are a lot of avenues where a network might help somebody on the outside too. So for example, in training and placement centers themselves, right? Everybody who's on the outside is trying to find the best way in, and if you're able to provide that help from the inside as a training and placement student member or whatever that is, you are part of their network now, right? So once you start helping each other, and that is how things work in the adults, once you are an adult, right? So that has to be the first and foremost thing, that you are helpful to somebody, somebody can be helpful to you, understand what they can help with, what they can't help with, and just because they can't help should not mean that they are not part of your network, right? Get as much insight as you can about, like you said, what is this role in your company look like? What does the questions that we are asking each other, right? What does hiring look like a year from now? If you want questions like that answered, go for it. Or and the kind of questions I think that might be useful is one of the other ones that we have down the line, where we what skills can I pick up in my second year, right? So helping somebody else, getting that help is the purpose of network. It is not to attain a single objective. So yes, build a network, but don't rely on that alone for your first job.
Cool. So next question is learning ML the best move for me in second year?
So ML has been there for quite some time, right? It was there when
I graduated. You graduated.
Let's not date ourselves, but it has been there for quite some time. 1960s is when all this started. There is a lot of ground to cover, right? There is neural networks, there is probability and statistics as well. A lot of things that happen in your courses that are extremely helpful in understanding what's going on. If you know what a normal distribution is, if you know what a bell curve looks like, if you can understand some bit of statistics, how variables play with each other, it is okay to start. But I think, similar to the answer to the last question, it is not why you think it is good to start. If it is interesting to you, get started understanding the internals of ML. I'm interpreting the question as somebody trying to understand how ML works and not how an LLM works. right? They're not trying to simply use ChatGPT, they're trying to understand the internals of it. And that is a great research position to be in, right? And I don't mean like a job position, it's more like a mindset where you're trying to understand how this thing is working on the inside. It is fascinating, right? It is amazing that with the kind of math that leads to probability outcomes, you're able to get these kind of answers, like an LLM telling you word by word what is going to happen next, or creating a plan for you. So it is amazing that it can work that way. So you want to peer beneath the internals, go for it, but only because you want to do it, not because that will get you a job. Right. I think what I speak for you as well, but what has driven us has been the curiosity to just go deeper into something, right? And if that is your objective, then you'll find ways to make that into a practice. You'll find ways to make that into something you can get better at progressively. And at the end of the day, that's the way to be comfortable and in a good career, right? So yes, if you want to peek under the hood, but it's totally okay to not understand how that works and still be able to use AI on a day-to-day basis.
My take on that is, if it depends on what kind of career you are trying to build, or I wouldn't say like in the second year you would know the answer to what kind of career, but let me lay it out for you, right? If you want to build a career in taking the status quo forward, the state of the art forward, and which means heavy on research and heavy on understanding of mathematics, then pick this path of understanding ML better. But if you want to build a career where you are using machine learning or using the AI tools, then I don't think you need to, apart from a basic level of curiosity, you don't need to understand or go deeper into that. Rather start using that. Like, for example, if you have engines in this world, you can take a path of understanding how an engine is built. What are the different kinds of engine? How do I optimize? How do I increase the energy efficiency of an engine? And then you go down that path, and that's highly rewarding. At the same time, it will take a lot more time, and you cannot be a mediocre there, right? To be able to take that thing forward. But if you have to use that engine and build something, it can range from a motorbike to a grass cutter, right? They use similar engines.
There are these buggy competitions that keep on happening, right? So you don't need to understand exactly how it works. But you integrate it into another system and see how it.
So if you are just trying to go down the ML path because it sounds the state of the art or it sounds the next big thing, I would say first use it and build stuff instead of going deeper into research. If you are really good at math and really love spending a very long time with problem statements, then definitely go learn ML deeper. But knowing ML is not going to ensure that you are a great engineer or a software engineer or an AI engineer, right? Just knowing how that works and not being able to use it is not going to help. So if you want to go down that path, be sure that what that path is. Right? Just don't go towards ML because it is very lucrative.
It's the fact that it is very
correct.
The curiosity has to be driving. I do have one issue with what the way you describe it though. So, and I'll be real here, right? You talked about building a career. Right. In my limited experience, but having seen a lot of people, go through similar trouble, I don't think careers are built by the people whose career it is. Right. It's a lot more of a second order effect. It's like you have some direction you're heading into, but it's almost always your environment around you. How is it pushing you? How is it shaping you? And I think, one of the mistakes I did, or I won't say it's a mistake, but certainly not good for my mental health, was that I thought that I can be the master of my career. If I put my mind to something, I'll get there. And while that is true, it is not always going to be, true in a career-like sense. So, because our listeners are fairly young and getting started, I think it is also important to understand that there are some things you can control, there are some things you can't. But what you can control, you can get really good at. But it might still not lead to the exact outcome you had anticipated, right? So be cognizant of how deeply you are invested into whatever you're doing, but give yourself that benefit of doubt and give yourself that that forgiveness time to time. So what would your response be to building a career? Do you think strongly about that being something you can drive?
So I think you need to pick a direction
Uh-huh.
or a general problem area that you want to spend
Right.
your life in,
Right.
because switching careers is not a luxury that everybody has.
Right.
And you can maybe do it once or twice, right? Because to be able to do meaningful work in anything, you need to absorb and marinate a lot of ideas for a year or two, like just to get all of the context. Even if you join a small company, to get all of the context in your brain, it takes about a year.
Yep.
Right? So I would say just pick a direction. If technology is the direction, so be it. If, let's say, writing is a direction, so be it. Any creative work that you want to do, you can keep switching between the same problem areas or same verticals.
Right.
But then your cross vertical jumps become slightly difficult when you are older, because again you have to spend the same amount of time getting all of that context.
Right. You have to be a starter again. Right. Yeah.
Correct. So that's my point. And like recently I was speaking to a friend, and he said something that stuck with me, and that can be a good guiding principle for someone picking career, right? Try to be the only of something. Right?
Okay.
So try to see where you can become the only who does that, because with the changing landscape, let's say you are a professional who has 20 years of experience.
Yeah.
You cannot be one amongst the crowd.
Right.
Right? If you have to have relevance at that point in time, you need to be an expert of what you are doing, right? And to be an expert, A, you have to be in the right environment,
Right.
and B, choose something that you inherently like. You cannot force yourself to be behind something for like 15 years or even 5 years or even a year.
Yeah.
Right? So that I think is more important, and you will never know just by like some YouTube videos or podcasts or hearing other people's experience. I would say do internships to be able to understand what these landscapes are,
Yeah.
and then pick something. Right? So I think that's a good actionable for our listeners.
Fair. And I think also one thing that you did say about being the only one at something, right? So something that I wish I had more, I had paid more attention towards when I was starting out was interdisciplinary work, right? And we have talked about this a lot. But curiosity often finds adjacencies faster than you can cover.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is you start to cover a lot of ground without knowing you're covering a lot of ground, right? And being able to marry those ideas into one whole is a lot more powerful than an idea from just that field.
Yeah.
Right. So in my case, for example, we were building an ad server in Flipkart back in the day, and the idea was that you had to build a system where so an ad server is a very high scale system, right? It has to process a lot of events at a very rapid rate, and the only way we could figure out how to measure what is going on is by using a concept from electrical engineering, which is impedance, right? So the idea was that unless the impedances across the chain is matched, you will always have a queue buildup, right? And that we were able to leverage to actually find the problems very rapidly.
Interesting.
Which and that to me was like the start of an interdisciplinary spark, where always keep reading, always be curious, find ideas from different places that you can apply.
Yeah.
And that is a very clever route towards being somebody who understands that the only one who understands that as good as somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's a neat way to structure your progress and on how your career goes forward.
So I think to summarize the answer, should I get into ML in my second year? First, dip your toe in it.
Yeah.
And if you think that you are so curious and it is increasing your curiosity that you find understanding the concepts of a support vector machine or a random forest and the problems that these solve, and you think that you are even further interested, then go deeper.
Right.
Otherwise, use the concepts, start building.
Yeah. And let your curiosity guide you at all steps. Crazy. I think we have one more question.
I think we should do justice to the name of this podcast, Ki Karna Kya Hai, and end with some actionables.
I have a fascinatingly Karna Kya Hai like question for you. What is the best way to get a job as a fresher who graduated from a tier 2/3 college that did not have placements?
Oh, specific. Okay. So there are two things. I don't know what the tier of college has to do with this, but let's say you are a fresher who is graduating from a college which does not have a very prominent campus placement operation in your college. There are 2 or 3 things that you must do. One is don't rely on just adding skill keywords in your resume. you must show proof of work. So, like we were talking about, build something and then showcase that the impact of what you built in your resume instead of just adding those skill keywords. That's one very important thing. B, reach out to your alumni, whoever is working, wherever they are working, not just for referrals, but to get guidance on how you can apply to their company or the companies that they can get you in touch with, or other job boards. And the third thing I would say is, do not think that you are entitled to something because you are from a certain college or you have done a particular course, because that's something that everybody else who is applying has already done.
Correct.
Right? So build things or make things in a way that set you apart from the crowd. That's the most important bit.
Fair
right?
enough.
You will have to find your uniqueness, and you will.
Yeah.
Right? If you just keep at it, you will be able to find your uniqueness and apply to so many. There are so many job boards. Apply to the jobs which are verified, and do not apply to job boards which will just dump dead posts. But we also have a launchpad program which is built just for this. But there are so many other good job boards as well, so apply everywhere. Try to increase the probability of getting a call back, getting an interview. Right? And just keep that in mind, that proof of work is always going to rank higher than what you just say in your resume.
Yeah, absolutely. Would your advice change significantly if the college did have placements and the student did not get through?
Just study the companies which are coming to your campus better, study the roles better. Sometimes what happens is things are not what they seem to be. Talk to your seniors who are working there. Also study the roles, because companies also become a little creative while announcing the roles. The name of the role might sound very lucrative, but you have to read between the lines as to what is your first 6 months in the company are going to look like. So talk to your seniors, talk to people who are working in those companies. There could be 2 years, 3 years seniors, and then understand what the company does, what the job role is, and see the role's alignment to the kind of career that you want to build. Right? So a lot of times where like the campus placement operations are prominent in a particular college, often people end up taking the wrong job. And this has been our experience. You will be able to course correct in a year or two,
Right.
but if you are aware before time, then you'll be able to make a much better decision and save yourself those 2 or 3 years
Right.
of course correction, because any new role that you pick up, you'll again have to start.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think with that, our listeners have some idea of Karna Kya Hai.
Karna Kya Hai.